Hi, what's going on, coffee friends? Eric here. Hope you're all doing good today. We're doing a tutorial. We're doing a dial-in video for the HiBREW G5. For this video, you're going to need an espresso machine and you're going to need a HiBREW grinder. But really, I mean, the concepts are the same for any stepless grinder. So you can basically use this video for any stepless grinder. You're going to need a scale. This is an espresso scale. This is one that is small enough to fit on the tray of an espresso machine. Also has a built-in timer and is relatively accurate, down to 0.1 gram. That will help me dial in things a little bit easier. If you don't have an espresso specialty scale, a kitchen scale will do fine. It won't give you as exact results, and you will have to weigh your espresso out after the timing, kind of on the side. But the point is that you're going to want to weigh out your beans before you grind them. You're going to want to weigh out your beans after you grind them, and you're going to want to weigh out the amount of espresso that actually ends up in your cup. That's how you're going to get an accurate measurement. That's how you're going to accurately dial in. You don't have to do it every time, though some of us like to, but this will help you get the parameters and help you get things dialed in properly. Right here at the top of the video, I'd just like to mention that I would love you to subscribe, give me a like, give me a comment. If you see anything in this video that you need, like be it the scale or the WDT tools, you'll find links to those below. Those are affiliate links. Anyway, let's get going. So the fundamentals of espresso, the basic idea: if you go finer, that is to the smaller numbers, be it 765, smaller the number, the finer the grind, your espresso is going to go slower. You go coarser, the bigger the number, your espresso is going to go faster. So that's basically what you need to know. Coarser means faster, finer means slower. Depending on the coffee, depending on the roast level, depending on the amount of coffee you can fit in your portafilter, a bunch of variables, things are going to really be different for what number you're going to start on. For the coffee that I'm doing in this tutorial, which is like a medium dark roast, and for the portafilter that I'm using, I can comfortably fit a little less than 18 grams in my basket, so I'm doing 17.5. You can do usually anything between 16 and 19 grams depending on the coffee. For this video, we're doing the classic 1:2 ratio, which means for 18 grams of beans, I want to get 36 grams of espresso. 1 beans to 2 parts liquid yield. The amount of time I want that to take is between 25 and 30 seconds from the first drop. That's your basic parameters. You can adjust by how they taste to you, but that is the basic rules of espresso. In this tutorial, I'm starting at a 9. I am weighing my beans out at 17.5 grams. You do what works for you, but this is just a basics idea of how you would find the right settings on your grinder. Let's get going. Now let's see if we can run a few shots. Because of the size of my portafilter and the particular coffee that I'm using, I'm going to be running about 17.5 grams ristretto shot. So that'll be about a 1:2 ratio, meaning that for my 17.5 grams of coffee that I'm putting into my portafilter, I'm going to be trying to extract around 35, 36 grams out. And the time that I want to do that in is in about 25 to 30 seconds from the first drop that I see. If you're new to coffee, that might sound a little complicated, but basically you want to get double, whatever you weigh out for your beans, you want to get double that amount of liquid espresso out, and you want it to take about 25 or 30 seconds. I'm just going to run it for a second while I pump the bellows. And these bellows are really necessary. If you do not pump them, you're going to lose quite a bit of coffee in there. So I got about 17.7 grams out. So I put about 18 in there, a little bit, about 0.3 grams retention. Let's run a shot. So we're going to see how this shot runs and make adjustments from there. So I can just tell that this is running much too slow. This is going to be too fine for our espresso. I'm barely getting anything here. It's just going to not work at all. So what I'm going to do is make an adjustment on the grinder. Okay, so at a 9, we were looking at something that was a bit too fine, going a bit too slow. And since we got almost no drops, I'm going to go make a more major adjustment and adjust that to 11. Normally I would go 1 step or a half step in between, but when you have a situation where the espresso is going so slowly that you're just getting little drips and it's taking more than a minute, you can go ahead and adjust 2 steps at a time in that case. Now, because I want it to go faster, I'm going to make the number bigger. I'm going to make it coarser, in other words. If I wanted to go slower, I would go the opposite way. But in this case, we're going to see how an 11 runs. I'm going to weigh out my 18 grams. I'm going to be still pulling my shot at about 17.5 grams, but I'm weighing out 18 just in case a little gets stuck in the grinder. I also want to mention right now that it's important to keep your portafilter dry. You want to keep that dry when you're in between shots or when you're doing new shots so nothing gets stuck up in here. And we're looking at 18.3 grams. Oh wow, so actually there was a little bit still stuck in there. It just shows that actually as we loosen this up to more of an espresso range, before it was a bit too fine, now anything that got stuck in there is coming out, so the retention is probably better than I thought. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the importance of puck prep. After you get your espresso ground, you're going to want to, if you have a WDT tool, this little guy here, you're going to want to break up any clumps. The good news is that this little grinder doesn't seem to have too many clumps. So that means you don't have a lot of work to do. If you had a shot collar here, or a portafilter collar, or funnel as they call it, you're not going to have a problem with losing as much espresso as I am. So after I've got my clumps broken up, I'm going to take my grooming tool. This is not a necessary step, but it is a good way to get your, if you have a tamper like this that has a grooming tool built in, it's going to give you a nice flat bed for extraction. Then I'm going to tamp. Now let's see how these shots run. Off to a good start here. Not too bad. Just a hair too slow still. I'm going to make one more little adjustment. I think I'm going to go a half step. All right, so let's back this up another half step. All right, just a little smidge coarser. Okay, now we're talking. I think we've got our shots in range. And these look really beautiful. We've got a nice solid stream right there coming down the middle. Everything's collecting great. So this is a good looking set of shots. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that helped you get your grind dialed in. If this video helped you out, I hope you'll subscribe. Thanks again. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.